In the cold glare of the hospital lights, Adeline signed the kidney donation consent form without hesitation. Knowing it was the only way to save the woman both she and her identical twin Leilani had secretly loved for years. But as Leilani stormed into the room, her face pale with fury, the weight of their shared forbidden secret crashed down like a wave, threatening to drown their entire family in scandal. The doctor stepped back, clipboard in hand, oblivious to the storm brewing between the identical sisters who had once shared everything from cribs to secrets. Adeline's hand trembled slightly on the pen as she finished the last signature, her mind flashing back to the quiet afternoons in their San Francisco apartment where Elena Voss had first walked in and changed everything. Elena, with her warm hazel eyes and easy laugh, had been their colleague at the community center where Adeline taught literature to immigrant kids and Leilani volunteered legal aid on weekends. At first it was innocent, coffee runs, late-night talks about dreams and family pressure. But for Adeline it had deepened into stolen glances and whispered confessions in Elena's car after work. Leilani had noticed the change, the way Adeline lit up whenever Elena texted, and one rainy evening 3 years ago she had confronted her twin in their childhood bedroom at their parents' house. "You're in love with her too, aren't you?" Leilani had whispered, voice cracking. The truth spilled out like blood from a cut. Both sisters had fallen hard for the same woman. Both had shared secret dates and promises. Both had hidden it from their strict Vietnamese-American parents who still hosted Lunar New Year dinners expecting traditional husbands and grandchildren. Their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Nguyen, had built a successful import business in the Bay Area through sheer grit after immigrating in the 90s. Honor was everything. Reputation in the tight-knit community, Sunday services at the Vietnamese Catholic Church, daughters who would carry the family name with pride. Coming out as lesbians would be unthinkable. It would shatter the fragile respect they had clawed from neighbors who already whispered about those two girls who never date. So the twins had sworn to bury it, to let Elena choose or to walk away. But Elena never chose. She loved them both in different ways, and the three had danced around the truth in private, hearts tangled in a knot no one dared cut. Now Elena lay pale in the ICU bed down the hall, her kidneys failing from a sudden autoimmune flare no one had seen coming. The twins were perfect matches, identical DNA. So the doctors had called them in urgently. Adeline had decided alone to donate, desperate to prove her love without words, to save the woman who held both their hearts. She hadn't told Leilani until the paperwork was almost done. "You can't do this," Leilani hissed now, grabbing her wrist. "If the family finds out why you're really doing it, if they see how close we both are to her, they'll know everything. Our careers, mom and dad's business, everything we've built to protect them. You're risking it all for her." Adeline pulled free, eyes burning. "She's dying, Leilani. I love her enough to give her a piece of me. Can you say the same?" The argument escalated in whispers as nurses passed. The sisters' identical faces flushed with fear and jealousy that had simmered unspoken for years. Leilani had always been the ambitious one, the lawyer climbing at a downtown firm, terrified of losing the approval that paid her student loans. Adeline was the gentle teacher, the one who had almost come out to their mother once before chickening out after seeing her cry over a cousin's divorce. The hospital clock ticked louder than their hearts. Outside, their parents were already parking, rushing in after the frantic call about the donation. The secret that had bound the twins in guilt was about to crack wide open, and neither knew if their love for Elena was strong enough to survive the fallout. By evening the pre-op tests had begun. Blood draws, scans, endless questions about family medical history. Adeline lay on the gurney while Leilani paced the hallway, texting Elena's best friend for updates. The jealousy flared again when Leilani remembered the night she had kissed Elena in the park, only to learn later that Adeline had done the same the week before. They had promised each other never to compete, but love didn't follow rules. As the technician labeled the vials, Adeline whispered to herself, "This is for her. Even if it costs me everything." Little did she know the cost would be paid in pieces of their family's fragile honor, starting the moment their mother walked through the double doors with worry etched on her face and questions already forming. The twins exchanged one last desperate glance. The game of hiding was over. The real war was just beginning. The next morning the hospital corridors buzzed with the usual chaos, but inside room 412 the air felt thick enough to choke on. Adeline had spent the night hooked to monitors, her body already preparing for surgery scheduled in 48 hours. Leilani sat beside her bed, arms crossed, the identical features they shared now twisted into masks of accusation. "You should have talked to me first," Leilani muttered for the 10th time. "Elena's not just yours. She's ours. And now Mom and Dad are downstairs demanding to know why you're suddenly the hero." Their mother had arrived with a bag of homemade pho and 1,000 questions, her traditional Audai swapped for jeans but her values unchanged. She kept pressing about the close friendship with Elena, how often the woman visited their apartment, why both daughters seemed so invested. Adeline had lied smoothly, claiming Elena was like a sister, but the lie tasted like ash. During the compatibility counseling session, the doctor had casually mentioned how rare it was for identical twins to both be perfect matches, and how emotional bonds often influence donation decisions. Leilani's eyes had flicked to Adeline then, the unspoken accusation clear. This wasn't just compassion, it was love wearing a medical mask. Later in the cafeteria, over stale coffee, Leilani finally broke. "Remember when we promised we'd never let anyone come between us? Elena did that the day she smiled at both of us. I almost told Mom last year after you two spent that weekend in Napa. I was jealous, terrified. I backed out because I saw what it would do to Dad's business. Clients pulling out, church gossip. But you're forcing my hand now." Adeline's voice cracked. "I'm not forcing anything. I'm saving her life. If you loved her half as much, you'd understand." The words hung heavy, the first open admission of the triangle that had poisoned their bond. Their father arrived that afternoon, tie loosened from the office, face lined with exhaustion. Mr. Nguyen had built his life on control, daughters who excelled, a community that respected the family name. He sat between his girls like a judge. "The doctor says the surgery is risky for the donor. Adeline, why you and not your sister? And why is this Elena so important that you'd risk your health?" The questions drilled deeper than any scalpel. Leilani stayed silent, fear winning over loyalty, while Adeline deflected with talk of friendship and duty. But when their mother pulled out old photo albums on her phone, pictures of the three women laughing at beach picnics, the tension snapped. "You both look at her the same way," Mrs. Nguyen said softly, not accusing yet, but the seed was planted. That night Leilani slipped out to Elena's room. The woman lay weak but awake, for lines snaking across her arm. "I can't lose either of you," Elena whispered as Leilani brushed hair from her forehead in a gesture too intimate for friends. "But if the donation exposes us, I don't want your family destroyed because of me." Leilani's heart twisted. She had almost kissed her right there, consequences be damned, but footsteps in the hall sent her fleeing. Back in Adeline's room the twins argued again, voices low but sharp. Leilani confessed the jealousy that had made her hesitate to donate herself. "I was scared the tests would show how much time we've spent with her, late nights, shared hotel rooms on trips. The nurses already notice how we finish each other's sentences about her." Adeline reached for her hand, the old twin bond flickering. "Then help me hide it. For Mom and Dad. For us." But deep down both knew the lie was fracturing. The medical team scheduled final cross-match tests for morning, and with them came the growing dread that every shared glance, every memorized detail about Elena's favorite songs and fears, would betray them before the first incision. The family dinner that evening was silent torture. Parents watching their daughters with new suspicion. The weight of unspoken truth pressing down like the San Francisco fog rolling in outside the window. Pre-op day arrived wrapped in sterile white and mounting dread. Adeline lay on the exam table, while the transplant coordinator reviewed charts. "Remarkable how in sync you two are," the woman remarked, comparing blood panels. "Almost like you share the same heart when it comes to Elena." The casual comment landed like a grenade. Leilani, waiting outside, overheard through the cracked door and felt her stomach drop. Inside, Adeline forced a laugh, but her pulse spiked on the monitor. The coordinator left to consult the surgeon, leaving the twins alone for the first time since the argument. "They're starting to connect the dots," Leilani whispered fiercely. "Last night Mom asked why Elena's emergency contact lists both our numbers. Dad's already calling the church elders for prayers that could turn into questions if this goes public." Adeline turned her head, eyes fierce. "I'm not backing out. She needs this kidney. If it means they find out I love a woman, then maybe it's time." The betrayal came that afternoon when Leilani, driven by panic, pulled their mother aside in the chapel. She didn't say the words lesbian or love triangle, but the hints were enough: late nights, shared vacations, the way both daughters lit up around Elena. Mrs. Nguyen's face crumpled. "Tell me it's not true. Not both of you. Our family," she left without finishing, tears streaming. When Adeline learned what happened, she confronted Leilani in the stairwell, voice shaking with rage. "You sold us out because you're scared of losing your partnership at the firm? I trusted you." Leilani's defense crumbled into sobs. "I was protecting us all. Dad's already talking about pulling funding for your teaching program if there's any scandal. The community will turn on us." The sisters stood inches apart, identical faces mirroring pain and fury. The bond that had survived childhood fights now fraying under the strain of love for the same woman. Elena sensed the shift when they visited together that evening. Weak but clear-eyed, she reached for both their hands. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I love you both. But I won't be the reason your family breaks." The romantic tension crackled even in sickness, the gentle way Adeline adjusted her pillow, the way Leilani memorized the curve of her smile. Their parents watched from the doorway, unspoken accusations thickening the air. That night the family held an emergency meeting in the waiting room. Mr. Nguyen's voice was steel. "If this donation is about more than friendship, we need the truth. Our name is everything." Adeline stayed silent, protecting Elena and herself, while Leilani wavered between fear and loyalty. The irreversible clock ticked toward surgery at dawn. Outside, rain lashed the windows, mirroring the storm inside each heart. The twins had always faced the world together. Now the secret that bound them was tearing them apart, and the woman they both loved lay at the center, waiting for one of them to save her life and possibly destroy their own. Surgery morning broke gray and unforgiving. Adeline was prepped first, for lines humming, the anesthesiologist cracking jokes to ease the tension. Leilani paced the pre-op holding area, scrubs borrowed from a nurse, her mind replaying every stolen moment with Elena. The beach kiss under the pier, the whispered "I love you" in the car after midnight drives. When the nurse wheeled Adeline past, their eyes locked. "Whatever happens," Adeline murmured, "tell her I did this for all of us." Leilani nodded, throat tight, the jealousy and love warring inside her. The operating rooms were side by side, donor and recipient. As scalpels prepared to cut, the family sat in the waiting area, parents clutching rosaries, unaware the real wound was about to open. 2 hours in, complications arose, not medical but emotional. A nurse, reviewing charts, noticed matching entries in Elena's personal notes. Both sisters listed as emergency family, with identical phone numbers and a private photo of the three of them hugging. She mentioned it casually to the coordinator, who then asked the waiting parents for clarification. Mr. Nguyen's face darkened. What kind of friendship requires 2 daughters to be listed like that? The coordinator hesitated, then showed the photo. The room exploded. Mrs. Nguyen covered her mouth. Their father stood, voice booming. "This is not friendship. This is sin." Our daughter's Leilani, emerging from the observation gallery, walked straight into the fire. She tried to deflect, but the evidence mounted. Text messages the nurse had glimpsed while prepping Elena, references to our girls that now made terrible sense. Inside recovery, Adeline woke groggy to Leilani's ashen face. "They know. Not everything but enough. Mom's crying in the chapel. Dad wants to speak to the doctor about canceling the transplant." Adeline's hand flew to her bandaged side. "No. It's done. The kidney is in her." But the damage was spreading. Elena, still under sedation next door, had no idea her lover's world was collapsing. Leilani confessed the half-truth she had fed their mother earlier. "I was scared. The firm called this morning. Partners heard rumors. My promotion is on hold." The twins cried together for the first time in years, identical tears falling. The romantic bond they shared with Elena now a weapon turned against their family. By afternoon the surgeon confirmed the transplant was successful, but the true surgery, the one on their family ties, had just begun. Their parents demanded a meeting in the private lounge, doors locked, voices rising. "Choose," their father said coldly. "The woman or us. The church, the business, everything we sacrifice for you." Adeline, still weak from anesthesia, met Leilani's eyes across the table. The choice was no longer theoretical. The secret had been exposed, and the price was only starting to reveal itself. The confrontation lasted 3 brutal hours. Mr. Nguyen paced like a caged tiger, listing every sacrifice. Late nights at the warehouse, college funds scraped together, community respect earned through flawless behavior. And now this? Both of you with the same woman? The neighbors will talk. Clients will leave. Your mother hasn't slept. Mrs. Nguyen sat silent, tears carving tracks down her cheeks, clutching the family Bible. Leilani broke first, the ambitious lawyer crumbling under the weight. It's not what you think. We never meant. But Adeline cut in, voice steady despite the pain in her side. We love her. Both of us. And I gave her my kidney because love means saving someone, even when it costs everything. The words landed like stones. Their father's face hardened into stone. Then you choose her over blood. Over the name we gave you. He turned to Leilani. And you? Will you stand with your sister or with your family? Leilani's hesitation was the deepest betrayal yet. She looked at Adeline, then at their mother's pleading eyes and whispered, I need time. Adeline felt the knife twist. The twin who had shared every secret now chose fear. That evening the hospital released Elena to a private room. Adeline, still recovering, snuck in despite doctor orders. Elena's hand found hers immediately. I heard whispers. Your parents, they know. Adeline nodded, tears falling onto the sheets. They want us to end it. Leilani is pulling away. My teaching grant is frozen pending family review. Elena pulled her close, the romantic moment pure and aching. No grand gestures, just foreheads touching, breath sinking. I never wanted this for you. Walk away if you have to. I'll understand. But Adeline shook her head. I chose you the day I signed those papers. I'm not walking away. Outside the door Leilani watched unseen, heartbreaking at the tenderness she recognized as her own. The jealousy that had simmered for years now boiled into action. She texted their father a single message. Adeline won't stop. She's choosing Elena publicly. The betrayal was complete. By midnight their parents arrived with suitcases packed from the apartment the twins shared. You are no longer welcome home, Mr. Nguyen said flatly. The business accounts are closed to you both. Leilani, you may stay if you repent. Leilani stood frozen in the hallway, career flashing before her eyes. Partnership, respect, safety. Adeline, bandaged and pale, stepped forward. Then I go alone. The family shattered in real time. Years of tradition crumbling under the weight of truth. Elena watched from her bed, powerless, as the woman who had saved her life lost everything. The next morning headlines in the community paper hinted at scandal. Local family in crisis after daughter's medical heroism. The twins' carefully built lives lay in ruins, careers on hold, relationships severed. Yet in the quiet of Elena's room Adeline whispered, it was worth it. Leilani, suitcase in hand, chose the door instead of her sister. The irreversible decision had been made. Weeks blurred into a new reality. Adeline recovered at Elena's small apartment overlooking the bay. The kidney donation, a success that had cost her family but given her love. Leilani had moved back home, attending church services with their parents, her promotion restored on the condition of silence. The community whispered, but the Nguyen name survived, barely, because one twin had chosen duty. Adeline's teaching position was quietly eliminated. She now tutored online, scraping by. Elena's health returned slowly, color blooming back into her cheeks, but the guilt weighed heavy. I broke your family, she said one evening as they sat on the balcony, hands intertwined in the only romance they had left. Adeline shook her head. You didn't break anything. The fear did. Leilani chose safety. I chose truth. The final confrontation came at their mother's birthday dinner. Adeline invited despite everything. She arrived with Elena, hand in hand, walking into the house that once felt like home. Their father stood at the head of the table, face unreadable. Leilani sat beside him, eyes downcast. You came, Mrs. Nguyen whispered, voice cracking with a mother's love fighting tradition. Adeline spoke clearly. I'm not hiding anymore. I love Elena. She loves me. Leilani loved her too once. The kidney was my proof. I won't apologize for saving the woman who made me whole. The room erupted. Father shouting about shame, Leilani silent until she finally stood. I was wrong to betray you, Adeline. I was scared. But seeing you here, I envy your courage. Their parents stared, the family torn down the middle. No one disowned anyone that night, but the rift remained wide and raw. Careers were rebuilt slowly, reputations patched with time, but the twins no longer shared everything. Months later, Adeline and Elena stood at the same hospital where it began, now for a routine checkup. Leilani waited outside, having driven them in silence. As they walked out together, the three women shared one long look: love, regret, and hard-won peace. The family would never be the same, but the truth had set one heart free. In the end, was choosing the truth worth losing the family? Or should some secrets remain buried forever?